it's yeah, been a bit of a crazy summer, like all over the place, from like great and just relaxing to yeah, like right now I'm feeling um it's funny. I want to use the word push, like I that there's some extra oomph needed that I haven't accessed because I'm not like I'm tired of it, but yeah, I think I am a bit tired of it.
Mm.
So if you have any inspirational tips,
I
that
do.
would be great.
No, I do. And tell me if this sounds like I'm on the money. Um, I think where you're at is you're at that part of a project where you're not 3/4 done, but you're like 2/3 done. And so all you can, like the only experience you're present with is effort. Because it takes, like beginnings have momentum and then they kind of move into discovery. But then you get to this 2/3 mark and it's like, you're into the workout. Like you are, but you're not finished. It's like if you're doing a 10K run, this is like the 7K, 7K, and you're like, shit, I still have 4 more K to go. Whereas when you get to 8K, you're like, oh my God, I'm almost done. So, I just want to,
that's a good perspective.
Right? Just acknowledge the reality of where you are. And it's also quite possible that what's needed isn't push. I might say that that's where you've actually come from. You've just actually come from push. And like you're not actually Sisyphus pushing up anymore. Like you're not at that point. It's more of a, I would say that where you are, what's needed now is like laser focus. So it's specific work. It's not bulk work.
Right.
You're not quite at the point of like interior decorating where you're buying accent pillows.
Yeah, the fun part.
But you are at the point where you are placing furniture, which is different than choosing the furniture and shopping through the stores and like you're placing furniture now.
Right.
Yeah. So I have some ideas for you.
Okay, good.
I'm hoping will help you because every building block, stacks on the next piece. And you just did so much work with Mary Beth around researching and asking and following and fleshing and, all of that stuff. That I think the next piece you need, or that I feel like from reading it, what I want to give you is, and what I want to do in this next hour is story, not structure, but storytelling. Like getting into the space of what makes a good story in the telling of it. Because you have tons of content. It's all relevant content. It's all there. It's way more focused, like you're on it. You are on it. It really is like moving your furniture around, putting like, where does the couch always live? What are we in an A-frame house? Or are we in a bungalow? Like that kind of thing. So I want to talk a bit about storytelling today, and I'm hoping at the end of the call that it will help you know what you need to write more of and what you need to write less of, or what we're not at the point of editing yet, but you'll start to get a sense of, oh yeah, I've said this 4 times in different ways, so I actually don't need this couch. I've got 4 couches.
Which yes, I really noticed that.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah,
like that's all part of it. It's like when you're moving into a house, I need to use this analogy. I've never used this before. You're just kind of throwing everything into the house, right? Like
everything you've owned, everything you've had, and does it really fit in this space?
And you don't really know until you've actually lived in it. First, you live in it for 6 months and you go, yeah. But then 2 years later, you're like, oh, actually, I don't need this. So So tell me, because it's important to me that your storytelling is your storytelling, not just what makes a good story. So I'm curious, first off, like, what are the movies that you love? What's your favorite movie or favorite book or favorite stories that you just you love them?
Hmm. Actually, quite a wide variety. Like,
Okay. That doesn't
uh,
surprise me.
yeah, like things like The Velveteen Rabbit, where there's, the story beneath the story.
Okay.
And I like the theme of it. Um, I like mystery. Like there's this
Mm,
series on Prime right now called The Hand of God.
okay.
And so it weaves together sort of mental illness with religion, with does this guy really hear from God, and corruption. Um, yeah, so it just has a lot of interest and intrigue to it. I've never actually thought of, observing how a story unfolds. I observe how people interact.
Mm,
That's what I observe. The social aspect, the analysis of the person. Are they really truthful? Like asking myself questions about the people,
mm-hmm.
um, which is the story.
Right. Right. Like if when you're watching a movie, it's actually the pauses, not the dialogue, where the relationship is seen.
Yeah, never thought of that.
Yeah.
The pauses, not the dialogue, where the relationship is seen.
Hmm. So Velveteen Rabbit, mystery. Um, can you think about the kind of story, like when someone tells a story, what
Mhm.
captivates you?
Um, like their personal experience,
Hmm.
the impact on them. Um, it's so the word that comes to my mind is, this is really interesting. Irrelevant details really annoy me, but I don't know how to describe what that is
Ooh.
when someone's telling a story. And so I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, the relevant pieces that build the interest, um, and then they close it off. They answer whatever was posed,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning. Because so sometimes at the end of someone's story, you're like, oh, like that's it. That's it. Like I have no idea where you're headed.
Right.
And when they go down rabbit trails that are not meaningful to the direction of the story.
Yeah.
So that's more of what annoys me.
Perfect. That is an amazing insight for you, and already a huge way to focus each chapter. At the end of each chapter, I want you to look back and go, did I get to the point? Right? Did I take responsibility for the impact I wanted to make? Or as you say, did I close it up?
Yeah. Did I say what I was going to say? Did I
Yeah.
promise?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, that's great. Um, what is when you think about all the books that you've read and all the workshops you've taken, seminars you've been involved in all kinds of capacities, keynotes, what do you tend to walk away with? So I'm not asking you about your experience while you're listening to the keynote. I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking, or when you're reading the book, I'm asking, what do you tend to walk away with? What stays in your memory?
The what to do.
Okay.
If I don't link it to doing something, I don't remember.
Okay, great. Okay, so when you're in the audience of a speaker, what generally captivates your attention? What calls you in usually?
So first of all, them, their who they are, their presence. Hard to explain. Like, do I like them? And my like for people usually has to do with their sincerity.
Okay. And how do you experience sincerity? How do you, like, just take yourself back? How do you read their sincerity?
It's a lot about their congruence, like their tone, what they're saying. Is it really matching with their body language? Is that all congruent? You know, and so what is what they're saying like sincere, authentic, although I don't love that word, but yeah, that congruent, I experience this congruency.
Okay.
And to me, it's they're speaking from the heart.
Okay.
That's how I would describe it, not from their head.
Great. Okay, perfect. When you think about the communicators that really speak to you, what style are they usually in? Like, do they use humor? Are they relaxed? Are they official? Are they direct?
Probably relaxed and direct.
Okay.
And I do like a combination of storytelling and information.
Okay.
Like, you know, here's what the research says about this. Like, I just read something today. How many that we have about 8,000 thoughts a day.
Right.
And 96% of them are irrelevant or repetition, like stuff like that. I like that.
Okay. Awesome.
Because it brings meaning.
Right. Okay. So now when you think about the style of writing that you have currently been writing in, actually I'm going to just make a list of some of these words for you first. So of all the words that you've just said to me, intrigue, I'm going to say relevant versus irrelevant, because irrelevant was the annoying one. Sincere. I want to say activating from the word to do, like what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say activating or direct, like directional, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And relaxed and informed. Okay. So does that, if when I say those words, intrigued or intriguing, or creating a space of intrigue,
Mm-hmm.
relevant, sincere, activating, relaxed and informed, Does that sound like, I'm going to call them your communication values? Or might there be something else? And there anything else in that list? Or anything that doesn't belong on that list?
I think that is, I think that captures it. Yeah, communication values.
Awesome.
Yeah, if any one of those, actually relaxed isn't necessary.
Okay. What would you replace it with? Because I think I get a sense that you're going somewhere with that word relaxed.
Personable,
Hmm.
or that feels better.
Mm-hmm. Which is different than sincere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personable is relatable.
Yeah. Now, relatable is a tricky one, right? Because relatable can be relatable to certain markets, whereas personable doesn't matter if I relate to you or not. You can still be personable to me. I might be a doctor, and you're a painter. I might not be able to relate to your world, but I can relate to you as a person.
I like that.
So I just wanted to give those two distinctions, because we can
Yeah.
still go into relatable, which is important, not so much I think for your voice of the book, but relatable more about who you're talking to. Which I don't know that I would put that in your communication values, just based on my experience of you, and I'm willing to be wrong about that. But I think, because I think my experience of you is whether I relate to you or not, your communication values are, did I speak person to person to her, right? To me.
Yeah.
But I do think relatable, your brain, like in terms of the next step out around impact, is understanding your relatability and relevancy and all that stuff. Okay, so informed, personable, activating or direct, sincere, relevant, with an element of intrigue. And I want to say element of intrigue, I want to explain what I feel in that word. It goes back to what you said about the Velveteen Rabbit and that the story beneath the story, as well as the way you talked about the hand of God having 4 layers that are weaving together. That the intrigue is about, there's more here that you're asking the audience or reader or whoever you're communicating with to listen, like a full sensory listening. Sense that there's a whole other layer in here. That's what when I say intrigue, it's not about leading them down a path with breadcrumbs. It's you speak on a more than one sense. You're using multiple senses when you're speaking. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that sounds accurate to describe intrigue.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to email you this list, obviously. And when you think about this, like interior decorating or like building your house, this is what your book feels like on the inside. This is the paint color. This is the carpet. These are your choice of fabrics on your furniture. The stain of the wood on your table, should you have a table that's made of wood. It might be arborite. The way it feels in your book. So this is going to help you focus your writing. After you've done pardon me, At the beginning and at the end of a writing time, I want you to look at these words. So you could put these words, you know, up on your computer, and as you're writing, you just have to trust them. You don't have to do anything with them. Just have them there to help guide the voice that's emerging from you.
Right.
And then at the end of it, just have a look and ask, like, scale of 1 to 10, or what percentage, and not to change it, because at this time it's too early to go back and change things, but you can go, okay, where am I? Ooh, that was only 30%. Okay. All right. Maybe I need a nap. I should probably not be writing right now. You know, I need to go for a swim. I need to, so something, you know, or you could even go, okay, I'm at 30%. What's one word I can use to start with? What word on this list really resonates in my heart right now? Dog. Okay, let's stop. I might move in the kitchen if it continues.
That is funny.
So does that help? Is that helpful for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very.
Good. I'm just going to go in the kitchen. There we go. So what I'm specifically speaking to here is tone.
Okay.
Right? Tone of your book. And sometimes, where's the light switch? There we go. So when you're saying, I think I just need a push, right? Sometimes it's the sensory experience or tone that is the push.
Right.
Right. You let the feelings guide you, and it lights something up. So you want to go back there. Okay. So there's that piece. Any thoughts on that before I move on to another piece?
Nope. Good.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Now let's go into a little bit more linear. And this is about content in your book. So I tend to draw a stick person, right? Head, body, arms, and the organs, right? The heart, the lungs, the digestive system, the feet. And when I look at all of your content, of which there's a lot of content, there's lots of elements of your work in the book. Sorry, in this body. If we named this body Unbecoming, you give us a lot of concepts in this book, and we need to figure out which concepts belong where. Like what is the head? What is the heart? What are the lungs? So for example, I'm just going to screen share so that you can see what I'm looking at. Okay. So when I look at your outline, for example, you know, self-compassion, if I just write down all the body parts, self-compassion is a body part, right? Limiting beliefs is a body part. Nature of addiction might be one, it might not be one. Individual exercise, there we go, okay. Assertiveness, I don't know, maybe. Obstacles to courageous conversations, maybe. Being a martyr, resilient living. Like you've given us many body parts, and we need to figure out which body parts are your main organs, because some of them are fingers, not hands, and we need to know in what priority, so we can start working with, like, putting them in the order of their organs. You've got there's a whole bunch of and we could also like throw the organs out the window. We could actually build a spine if we wanted to, and just put it all on a spine.
Yeah.
But what I'm wanting to do is make sure that, like, let's say, like chapter 2, for example, to me, and I don't want to like pull it apart because I actually want you to go in and do this, but we can look at chapter 2 as an example. Chapter 2, you've given us all kinds of tools. And I'm trying to figure out in chapter 2, like, is this part of a lung or is this a lung? You know, is this all the different parts of a heart or is this the heart? Because I can't, right now I'm having a hard time understanding what is the main thing that the other things are supporting, because they all currently have equal merit. As I read it, it's like every single piece is as important as the last piece. So as a reader, it's giving me, I'm not sure how to file it. I go, oh, okay, so it's all, let's go back to the house. It's like, am I in the living room or am I in the kitchen? Did I just open up a cupboard in the kitchen? Or right now it feels like a big open space where everything in the open space is as important as everything else. And so I don't know where to file it. Am I confusing you?
A little. But so if we look at, I can't fit this into the body, but I can fit this into like perhaps a home, like the structure,
Sure.
the foundation,
Awesome.
or a spine.
Sure.
So in understanding what you're saying, like I can see how they built on each other, and then I can see how, yes, then some sort of split off, and they do have kind of equal value.
Right.
But what I'm really interested in when I talk about limiting beliefs, it feels to you as a reader like something's unclear. There's a lot of information. They all have equal value.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So when I open up to chapter 2 and it's called limiting beliefs, I'm like, oh, this whole thing is about limiting beliefs. Okay. I know what room I'm in. I'm in the room of limiting beliefs. So if we carry on, okay. So moving to this other section, carry on courageously. So limiting beliefs diminish courage. Courage to me feels like it's as important as limiting beliefs. So instead of me trying to understand what limiting beliefs is, I now go, oh, am I supposed to know what courage is and how that applies to my life? So, and it might just be a wording thing. It could be,
yeah.
It could be that maybe that sentence is, it takes courage to, because this whole book is about unbecoming. It could be this whole section here is, it takes courage to unbecome. Mm-hmm. Limiting beliefs diminish your courage. And then all of a sudden I know, right, because I'm actually in the house of unbecoming. I'm in the kitchen of limiting beliefs.
Right, I gotcha.
And the kitchen is now all about courage. Awesome. You know what I mean?
So that's going to show up other places, because the original title of the book was like The Courageous Way.
Right.
So, okay, I think I get what you mean. Instead of, introducing this other concept that feels equal, the theme of that chapter, the theme of that room is the courage to unbecome.
Yeah.
Is what you said. I know I'm repeating, but I want to get this. The courage to unbecome by looking at limiting beliefs. Yeah,
totally. Because the whole book is about unbecoming. So now we want to anchor everything into unbecoming. And you can give us things, right? Like if we're baking a chocolate cake, we're still adding cinnamon, but we're adding cinnamon to a chocolate cake. it's not, the cinnamon isn't as important as the chocolate, right? We're not making cinnamon, we're making a chocolate cake.
Okay.
I know and I think that what's beautiful about you, because I don't want to change you, and it would be ridiculous for me to even try. And this is actually the dance that I'm on with you, because my allegiance is to the core of your expression. My allegiance is to celebrate and honor the core of your expression and have it communicate effectively. So in the core of your expression, you are someone, like, so when I asked you what your favorite movies are, you're like, oh, or why do you love, which stories do you love or whatever? You said, I love so many of them. And I'm like, of course you do, because that's how you write as well. Your voice is attached to all of the tools, not just one tool.
Right.
Right? And that's why you've made a workbook. So our work now, though, is to not change that, but make sure that it's still anchored to the impact which you value of a story. So if the impact of this book is unbecoming, right? The impact is that return to self by unbecoming. So that's the story we're serving. We're not serving the story of courage or the story that limiting beliefs leads us to or courage leads us to limiting beliefs, which leads us to unbecoming.
Right. The theme is unbecoming.
Yes.
A return to self.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And every chapter, every piece needs to reflect that.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's why when I use the body image, there are pieces that are more important than other pieces. Like in a body, if you don't have a heart, you're dead. If you don't have a brain, you're brain dead. If you don't have lungs, you're on a respiratory, right? There's certain things that have to be there. And so I'd like to start with that. Or I'm going to do it today. You can do it on your own, or we can do it today. But like when I go through your outline, I can't tell which ones are your main organs and which ones are your support organs.
Okay, good question.
Okay.
What's the main and what supports?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I mean, I know it, but good.
Awesome. Because then what we do with your readers, you're gonna introduce us, like you're gonna cluster, right? So you're gonna cluster your 3 support organs under a main organ. So you take us to the heart first, or take us to the lungs first, then take us to the heart. When you look at the 3-act structure, it's essentially, that's what you're doing, right?
So this is, once I determine that, this is not potentially, but rejigging the order.
Yeah, totally.
Under, like, starting with what's the main.
Yeah.
Then the support. So Act 1 is what's main, what's necessary.
Yeah.
Act 2 is the supports.
Might be. Act 2, like I think of Act 2 as kind of the digestion.
Okay.
Because it's all, remember, because Act 1 is establishing and everything we know we know we don't know, right? Act 2 is everything that we're totally into the unknown. You have to establish the body first and then go, hey, bet you didn't know this about the lungs. And I don't want to get too caught up in the act structure, because that might actually confuse us right now.
Yeah.
It's mostly just from a content perspective, just basic. If you know what are the main organs and what are the support organs, then start by highlighting that for me in here so I can get it. Because right now I don't get it. Right now everything is a main organ to me, so I'm not sure how to apply it. And it's going to come up in your chapter headings. So you might have, like, if there are 3 support Okay, give me what do you think is the heart of your tool or of an
Actually,
unbecoming?
yeah, I need to think about it in terms of um, like what's foundational, what's
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, great.
so
Yes.
it's self-compassion.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's self-value,
Yeah.
but self-compassion is a starting point to create self-value. Because to me, it's like that's the quickest way.
Awesome. So self-compassion would nestle under self-value, right? Self-compassion becomes a support organ of self-value
Right.
or foundation. Gotcha. So
Okay.
give me what's another foundational piece? Self-value. And there doesn't have to
Well,
be.
honestly, I think everything fits under self-value. That's what we're doing. You're
Mm,
becoming, we're becoming, it's a return to self. Um, so
okay.
I think all of it fits under self-value, but I don't, but self-compassion is the way, is the starting point to create that.
Okay.
The awareness of limiting beliefs, I think, is then the next step on top of that.
Right. So is it awareness on its own, or is it awareness of limiting beliefs? It might be awareness of, I'm just curious.
Not sure right now,
Okay.
but awareness of limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
that like both of those start everything helps unbecome and everything helps the return to self. Like you can't really separate them.
Yeah.
As you unbecome, you're returning to self.
Yeah.
um, then yeah, so the awareness of limiting beliefs, and the self-compassion, that's the foundation.
Awesome.
Everything else, I believe, is kind of the how-to.
Awesome. And are there how-tos under self-value and how-tos under limiting beliefs and how-tos under self-compassion? Like are they separate how-tos or no?
No, the how-tos, like having courageous conversations, boundaries, emotions,
Yeah.
are all under what creates self-value.
Okay. So the impact of the entire book is self-value. So when we unbecome, we are valuing self, right?
Yeah, another layer, like, yeah, it's a way of valuing self, but it's a return to self, which is the return to self. Here it is. The return to self is that full, unwavering belief that you have value.
Right. So when I open this book and I say, so what are we doing in this book? You're going to say, well, you are returning to self. Oh, so what are we doing in this book? You're returning to self. Well, how am I doing that? You are unbecoming. Oh, well, how am I doing that? Well, you're going to be aware of your limiting beliefs. You're going to establish boundaries. You are right. So it breaks
Right,
the house down a bit more.
right.
And then I would probably go, and why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes to because your self has value.
And you want to stop living a shitty life.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So why am I doing this? So why am I reading this book? Because you're going to stop living a shitty life that isn't yours. Right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Okay.
it's also so I can stop spinning because I remember I have that experience in your like the opening of your book of like is that the list of who needs this book, like what's going on
Yeah.
in your life. So why am I reading this book? Because of all this.
Can
Okay.
we walk through what you just said again? Because that just
Sure.
made it really clear to me.
Okay.
So what is the book about? It's a return to self.
Yeah.
How you're unbecoming. No, the book is a return to self, the unwavering belief that you have value. How you're unbecoming, how are you doing that? Through all these things, self-compassion, awareness, and then why? Because you have value and don't want to be experiencing what you are, whatever that is. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. So then yeah, good. So if I was to put this in a 3-act structure, Act 1 is all about establishing, right? It's all because you're establishing, you're making it safe for us. So Act 1 is all of what? So I need to know, what is return to self? What does it even mean? And I think, I'm not saying you're not doing this, it's in here.
Yeah.
It's totally in here. But when we're looking at organizing the furniture, right? What's the heart, the organs and all that stuff? You are laying the foundation in the first, in Act 1. So I need to understand, I don't need to go into how yet of Act 1. It's just what. So even the chapters where you have questions, these are questions that lead us to a deeper sense of what inside of us, right? So what is this book about? It's about return to self. So these would be questions about self to help them identify what self is to them, how they currently self-identify, because that's where we're going. So what is, okay, or it might be what are the things, it might be questions that you have already in there about the obstacles you're establishing. What are the obstacles between you and self right now? So your reader in Act 1 needs to know where they are, and so that they're ready to go to where they're going. Okay?
So Act 1, the what, establishing
your foundation.
What this is about. Questions need to reflect that as we go through. Questions need to, reflect that. Like, what are the obstacles? What's going on right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Linking the concept to practical steps.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So Act 2, in my opinion, because Act 2 is all about the new unknown, Act 2 is everything about unbecoming. All your limiting belief stuff. Act 2 is how. How am I going to, now I know what it is, how am I going to get there? Well, let me show you. Here's how to unbecome. Take a look at your limiting beliefs. Recognize you have them.
Would self-compassion would be under that too, right?
I'm not sure. I'm whatever you think. My thought was self-compassion might be in the 3rd act. I'm not sure. Act 3 is about why. Why are we reading this book? Why did I just unbecome? To reminding me I have value. Self-compassion might be at the end of Act 2 as a bridge into remembering we have value. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The reason I have it first is because if you go into limiting beliefs without self-compassion, I just don't think it's...
Sure. I totally get it.
Yeah, so I don't think you can. So then you can, and you make it worse.
So then the suggestion would be self-compassion might be something, going back to your languaging of what you love, self-compassion might be woven through the entire book. You might have, like, if you think of different shades of black, right? You would have gray and then ochre and then black, or shades of red or orange, light, dark, darker. Act 1, give us enough self-compassion.
Yeah.
We feel safe, but don't give us all of self-compassion.
Got it.
Right? Act 2, and our unbecoming, because we're unbecoming and we're coming apart at the seams, give us a little bit more self-compassion because we're unbecoming now and we need it to feel safe. And then give us the big self-compassion at the end. Potentially.
Right. Yeah, I certainly makes sense. Give a little at the beginning to establish the practice of it so that the limiting beliefs doesn't help you come apart completely.
Yeah.
And weave in self-compassion throughout the whole book, which it really fits. Okay. That makes sense.
Which to me then means self-compassion is actually the heartbeat. Without self-compassion, none of it works.
Right. Yes. More than the foundation, it's what keeps everything alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't want to overthink it. I want to leave just that piece with you. I want to do one more thing with you about structure. Unless you have more questions. Are there more questions on this?
I do. I really would like to go through the whole book. Not that we have to answer it, but what all may fit under Act 2 and how that fits.
Gotcha.
Because then I'll know where to go.
Gotcha. Okay.
So self-compassion. Yes. So then here's how: the limiting beliefs, the conversations, the boundaries.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, limiting beliefs to me is like falls in the unbecoming.
Yeah.
And to me, limiting beliefs would be like, they're a major organ, man. Like they're definitely lungs or something like that, because you take us through limiting beliefs in 4 ways, right? That's why it's a whole chapter unto itself, which is fantastic. I recommend actually at chapter 2 might be 2 chapters and not 1. It's quite dense as 1 chapter. It's a lot.
Yeah. So that's the limiting beliefs one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
It's even possible that chapter 2 is more of a section called limiting beliefs, of which there are 4 chapters in section 2.
Okay.
And I agree, because one of the things that I think this is a voice thing, one of the things I love about the way that you, what I love is your commitment of your communication. That when you take on limiting beliefs, this is not a concept. This is a how-to of limiting beliefs. This is everything you need to know about limiting beliefs. I am not, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's possible from a structural place that you have a section called limiting beliefs, of which there are 4 chapters within it. Something to just consider.
Okay.
Nature of addiction and its impact. Might just need a new title, because this is actually about beliefs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually that limiting beliefs are a type of addiction, or lead us to a type of addiction.
So you might just change the title to Limiting Beliefs and Addiction.
Right.
So that I know where I am. Because I'm like, oh, I'm in a different room of the house. How did I get here?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Act 2, here's how. Limiting beliefs is kind of a section.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is woven through. Where do the other pieces fall? The conversation that actually, as I was talking to you, I think priorities can fit with boundaries.
Cool. Yep. Totally.
Not as a separate, because priorities doesn't really tie into everything else. It ties into boundaries.
See, you're already thinking like body parts now, or houses in a room, rooms in a house. Yes, exactly. Tell me, so chapter 3, values, priorities, and aspirations. Tell me more. Tell me about your choice of naming it that.
The point is to get to a place where people are aware, women are aware of like 3 main priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, they develop their goals or aspirations. So I'm not sure about the word aspirations. playing with it.
Hmm.
So the values, the process I take them through is to explore their values, what's important to them. So they start with what's big and narrow down so that they have three main priorities. It's going to change throughout their life. But the whole point is if you have too much, you can't really become you.
Right.
And so part of the unbecoming is to determine what is you at this point in your life and let go of the rest.
Cool. So under the section, like the act 2 of unbecoming, how are we unbecoming? Well, one, we are totally owning our limiting beliefs. We are owning them. We're everything there is to know about. We've got that. Awesome. And then there's this other piece, and I totally can feel what you're talking about. And I want to give it one title, not 3. So we've got awareness of limiting beliefs that holds us back. So back to priorities and boundaries. Do you want to come from the perspective of what holds us back? Are you saying that, or do you want to come from the perspective of what we need to have? Like we need to have priorities, we need to have boundaries. Is it, there was
something like that. What holds us back and what we need.
Okay.
Something around that. And then the priorities and boundaries fits under that.
So is it something like knowing what matters, or trying to, like, I'm looking for this phrase that can pull all 3 of those things in together so I know exactly where I am. There was something you said about knowing who you are. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of there. But there's also
go ahead.
So there's also something that was coming to me around values and priorities and aspirations. Like I kept seeing lines, like knowing the container, or knowing where the walls are, or knowing my structure.
What is you and what is not you?
Right. So if when I'm unbecoming, I am owning my limiting beliefs and changing them, and I am owning what is me and not me and adjusting. I think we might not have the right title, but we're in the right realm. Like we're in the right realm now. Now I can go, oh, now when she talks about priorities, I get it. Now when she talks about aspirations, I get it. Now when she talks about values, I get it.
What about boundaries? Now when she talks about boundaries.
Yeah.
That fits. Okay.
Yeah. You and not you. I like that. You know, I remember that was actually a breakthrough for me when I had a coach, and she had me, it's a long time ago now, and she had me go through my life with 2 yellow stickies. And one sticky said, that's my gig. And the other one was, that's not my gig. And I literally had to walk through everything and go, oh, that's my gig. Oh, that's not my gig. Like it's almost like filing. It's like organizing. It's reorganizing. It's weeding. It's not structuring, but it is organizing. You and not you is fine. Okay. So when we're unbecoming, we're at limiting beliefs, and we are youing and not youing. You know what, honey? It could very well be just boundaries, calling it boundaries.
Yeah, I think it fits that way. Yeah.
I think it is. You're right. It's boundaries. That's it. So unbecoming, limiting beliefs, boundaries. And then you've got, I think resilient living fits under Act 3.
So I don't know what courageous conversations. That should be.
Well, what else have you got? You've got courageous conversations.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, chapter 4, courageous conversations before boundaries. So chapter 3, resilient living. So chapter 3 or Act 3 is really now do this, like now how to build. It's a bit of how, is that right?
Not based on what we did today. What we did today, Act 3 is it's the, so think of it, a church service. Act 3 is the end of, it's like the hymn after the sermon and the benediction. Right? So all the heavy lifting is done in Act 2.
Okay.
Act 3, you are like going, hey, how you doing? You good? You got this? Now let me send you off with this.
So if you can help me fit
Yeah.
each of my chapters into what act, then I can see how they sort of cluster.
Yeah, totally, totally. So like if we work backwards, let's work backwards maybe. Because I think then we'll know when it shifts. So like chapter 10, totally in Act 3. Ignite your courageous life. It's like, this is your benediction. You're like, go ignite, go, 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 right? The problem. Now, tell me about negativity bias and positive psychology.
So that chapter is really a tools chapter.
Yeah.
Of like how, like the beginning is sort of like you said, the heavy lifting, you're uncluttering, and then here's some really cool stuff like the nutrition, the brain nutrition thing, and this one fit together with here's some gifts like you just might not know about that can really help you become.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So here, this is just from a creative space, so take it or leave it. Your book could potentially have 4 acts.
Yeah.
So that Act 3 is all the cool extras. And Act 4 is the benediction.
Yeah.
Act 4 is super light.
I just feel awesome that you said that.
Oh,
it's
good.
Like, boom, it just went. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, once you've done the heavy lifting, they're less about unbecoming and they're more about becoming.
Ooh. Oh, I love that. Like I just think about looking at your book. Then like the 2 middle sections, I'm unbecoming and then I'm becoming. Mm-hmm. And I think what's so interesting is that the unbecoming has the more how-tos to it. It's like we don't need to how-to of become because we already are. But we should need to learn how-to to unbecome. So then the becoming becomes like play. Becoming
is the gift from unbecoming. It just happens.
I love that.
And oh yeah, that's awesome. And the chapter on the brain nutrition and then the positive psychology, they aren't needed, but they're new, and it will make this all like, your house will be fantastic.
So then those are like accent pillows. So what we need to do, and we don't have to figure it out now, but we can, or you just like let your brain play with it.
I think I got it. Other than I have chapter 10 on creativity and spirituality. Yeah. To me, that fits under Act 3 then.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And resilient, I'm not sure where that fits. It's somewhere in between unbecoming and becoming.
Yeah, I totally agree. It could be the end.
The bridge.
Yeah, the end of Act 2 and is the turning point, right? Or it can be the beginning of Act 3. But I don't think it's the beginning of Act 3 because that's becoming. Right. So it's the byproduct of Act 2, actually, right? Yeah. Is resilient. So yeah, it's the tail end of Act 2.
And it's a review of all the pieces that make you resilient. We've just covered them. So compassion, limiting beliefs. So it's like a summary and putting it all together. Yeah. Oh, yes.
So call it that, resilience, a review of unbecoming.
Okay.
Because that's the other piece I really enjoy about your voice as a writer is you just call things what they are. It's very refreshing.
I don't know how else to do it.
Great.
Like like if there's an easy way to say it, just say it. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that's refreshing.
It is. Okay. So the 4 false mood types.
That falls under the brain nutrition.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
And Mary Beth and I dove into this because she said, how do we know you know what you're talking about here? So
Yeah.
I tried to put more of that in there.
Cool. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Emotional self. Okay. You got it. Emotions. Yeah. We got that. Okay. Great. So is everything in a place where you think you know where it goes now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We've got these categories.
We do. It's beautiful. I love it.
Me too.
It's okay. So the next thing I want to walk you through really quick and really easy is that every story follows the same format. Every one pager is the same pretty much as every story, is the same as every essay, is the same as every article. They're always the same. It's the voice that gives us the artistry. So the format goes like this. It goes with context or theme. Give us an opening sentence, an opening paragraph, 3 lines, 1 line, whatever. You've got to give me the context of the chapter. In that context of the chapter, you are naming the conflict. You're basically saying, what, you can't sleep? The average woman, sleeps for 4 hours a night and heart attacks are on the rise. Making this up, right? It's like, it's your positioning statement, right? That says, this is the problem. This is what's happening with it. And boy, you better read on because I have a solution for you. And you're naming the theme of the chapter. So then there's like 2 chunks in the middle. So again, so it's what, right? You're giving us a what and a why right in the beginning. Then you're going to give us a when, and then the hows, a whens and the hows, right? And then you're going to close it back with a what and a why. So that's why it's really important that every chapter is locked into, this is the thing that you value, is locked, like right from the get-go, you are going to plant the seed of the impact that we're going to have when we finish that chapter. And the entire chapter supports that theme. It's not about anything else but that theme. So the only freedom really that you have to go off topic, it's not even off topic, but the only sort of rabbit holes you can kind of chase are the hows. Mm-hmm. So when you want, and your hows are they're still supporting the what and the why in the beginning, but if you really feel the need to be writing more, it's in the how part. Okay. What most writers do is they spend most of their time in the theme, because frankly to them it's the most interesting part to them. Mm-hmm. That's why they're writing the book in the first place. Mm-hmm. They love the what and the why, but you can't leave it. So what and the why is relatively short, lots of how in the middle, and if you really want to be dramatic, give us a good what and why at the end. Right? So you got to pick in each chapter, where are you, what piece are you using to create the impact? Do you, like, is this, ask yourself, is this a how chapter or is this a why chapter? Okay. So, and that's what I mean. So every one pager is the same thing. Opens with a theme, tells us a little bit more about it, gives us a bio, some background research, whatever, and then how, and then close it up with a what and why, right? So given what we've just done today, now that you know what each section is, I want you to go back into each chapter and really clarify exactly what that chapter is about and only about. And this is not to have you second guess yourself at all. It's to work on the thing that you value the most about storytelling, which is impact.
Okay.
And then the last piece of that is there's lots of literary devices we can use to create that structure. It's like you can use a poem as you have. Like you figure out, do I want to close with the poem to be my what and why? Do I want to open with the poem to be my what and why?
Right.
Do I want my questions to be my what and why? Do I want my questions to be the bridge between the how and the what and why? So because your each of your chapters, best as I can see, all the parts of your chapters, you give us a concept. Then you also give us a bit of research, which is really cool. You're like, and these are the people I've read who've done this stuff, right? Then you give us some information about your own personal learning, usually, right? There's a personal story that you give us or a client story, right? Then you give us some reflective questions. I've seen that. Then you usually summarize, and then you give us a group activity to do. And then somewhere in there you have a Sisyphus. Somewhere in there. And so currently each of your chapters, and all of this stuff is great. Currently your chapters include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. So I don't want to like overwhelm you, but eventually your reader's going to fall into Wendy's rhythm. And you want them to follow into a rhythm because then they feel safe. They're like, oh yeah, she's doing that thing again where she's summarizing. Oh, this is really important. Or like, oh, look, she's doing that thing again. What is that? I love the Sisyphus stuff is my favorite part. I totally get it when she does the Sisyphus stuff. So currently this is how your chapters read, but I actually want you to go through your chapters and go, how do I want my chapters to read? Am I missing a part? Do I have too many parts?
Yeah, right? Evaluate.
And then we can't push process. This is not about like doing it right, doing it wrong. It's about noticing the voice that wants to come through you and how the furniture wants to find its place in each chapter. But you currently have 7 pieces, which are great. Go back and take a look at your chapters and go, do they all have 7? Should they?
What are the 7 pieces?
I'll email them to you, but
okay, good.
But it's concept, research, or other people's expertise, basically, right? Then you have a personal or client story that gives us, I'm going to call it example. I think I called it information, but I'm going to call it example. You give us an example, which is personal or client example. You ask us to reflect, usually with your first set of questions. Then you summarize for us. So we answer the questions and now you summarize how we answered them. Then you have a group activity which takes it deeper. And somewhere in there you have a Sisyphus. What I haven't been able to find yet, and it might be in here and just not in the most effective place, is I don't have a call to action at the end of each chapter. So I'm going to use a silent film as an example. A really great silent film you should be able to watch without any title cards and still know what's going on. I should be able to read the last the last paragraph of each of your chapters and actually know what your book is about. So, and that's the call to action piece. That's the impact piece. And so that's the part I haven't found where it sits in your chapters yet. And it doesn't have to be the last paragraph. It just usually is. It's where the narrator's thumbprint or impact says, hey, gang, how was that? Let's go to the next chapter. It's even better now that you've got this. It's like following the stones in the garden. Like you could choose to close every chapter on the Sisyphus journey so that the whole book is Sisyphus at various stages of the pushing. Mm-hmm. Or you could close it on like Mary. You've got that great example of Mary. You have a fictional Mary that you close with. Mm-hmm. Or you could close with, out of the list of questions you have at the end of each chapter, what's the main one that you want them to answer, to unbecome? I'm making this shit up, right? But if you have 12 chapters, maybe those 12 chapters are the 12 points of unbecoming. It's just locking.
Oh. Hi, Tina. Ah.